me start with you, Governor Byrne. From your vantage point, is this a realistic solution to the system as it is?
Well, first of all, nothing gets universal approval, nothing. And you do the millionaire's tax, and you do it in a vacuum, you can say no to it. But if you ask yourself, what do we need in New Jersey, and how are we going to pay for it, I think you get a different approach. And that different approach might call for a millionaire's tax. I don't think it ought to be our first choice, but I don't know what our first choice ought to be.
Do you agree, Governor Kean? How do you see it?
Look, it's easy. Tax the millionaires. It's not you and I. I get the money. They have too much money anyway. Easy thing to do. Probably the worst choice in the world. I'll tell you why. We have already a very progressive tax system in New Jersey. We have among the highest tax rates in the country. We've already got a millionaire's tax. And if you tax something enough, you have less of it. And that's what's happened in New Jersey. $40 to $50 billion has left New Jersey since the last millionaire's tax. And what does that mean? They go away, they're in Florida, the Carolinas, what have you. We pay more. Because we have such a progressive tax system, we pay more every time a millionaire or billionaire leaves. So the idea that somehow you can solve all our problems just by keep on taxing the wealthy, and we'll all support it politically because it's not us, makes no sense at all. It hurts New Jersey.
What does make sense?
Well, a lot of things make sense, almost anything except that. What you've got to do is, first of all, you've got to create jobs. And if you create jobs, you do so by keeping the tax rates below the neighboring states. Not far below, but low. When you have the highest taxes, not only in the state, but the highest tax rates in the country, that just drives people off. And that means you get less revenue every year. So the first thing you got to do, if you ask businesses why they don't come, they say regulations and taxes. So unless you address regulations and taxes, we'll never solve New Jersey's problems.
He's a Republican.
Well, are we a high tax state? Do you think we are? And what are the consequences of taxing
Here's
again?
what I think we ought to do. Every year, we ought to sit down, figure out how much money we want to spend. And when we figure that out, we got to figure out how to pay for what we're going to spend. And if we can do that, saying no to taxes, fine. I'm for it. I'm the first one on board.
Well, where's the leadership on this situation, solving the pension problem, which is what Senator Sweeney says a millionaire's tax would be put toward, fulfilling the state's pension obligation? Where is the leadership on this?
But that's demagoguery. And demagoguery is saying something because it sounds good, even if you know it'll never happen. The governor's vetoed it 4 or 5 times. He's going to veto it again. So it's stupid to say because you can't do it, first of all. Secondly, I think more jobs came into this state when I was governor than any other time in the state's history. We created almost 750,000 new jobs. When I was interviewing the CEOs, they asked about their workers, they asked about the locations, then they asked about our taxes. Funnily enough, the people who create jobs are all millionaires. So when you're saying we're going to increase the tax of millionaires at the same time you're trying to convince them to bring their companies to New Jersey, that is nuts. Absolutely crazy. Never will happen, never can happen. So you've got to get over that and understand there are reasonable ways to do it. The governor has a terrific pension commission that is not Republican or Democratic, who came up with some reasonable solutions. They should start with that, then negotiate around that, and that's the solution.
What's happening now is we're discussing things that will not happen. And that's because there's no leadership and there's no even desire.
Unless you do something practical, there will not be money for people who've earned their pensions. The money's just not going to be there. Now that cannot be allowed to happen. And we can do something now, or the problem becomes beyond our reach.
So this millionaire's tax, as it's proposed, is being talked about to help the pension obligation in New Jersey. In the end, can we agree, governors, that what it's going to take is leadership to solve the pension issue and all sides sitting down to come up with a real plan. Do you agree?
Sure.
And you agree?
As long as it's in the best long-range interest of the state.
Governors, thank you very much for sharing your views, and we'll see what happens on this issue down the road.